proceedings. Council, are we ready to start?
We are ready, Mr. Chairman. Can I ask that the witness is brought in? Welcome back, RSM Jeng.
Thank you, ma'am.
I hope you had a good break.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to remind you that you're still under oath.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will continue with your testimony.
Yes, ma'am.
During the time that you were in detention at Mile 2 prison, were you at any point asked to write a statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us when that was? Tell us about it. Knowing how you are with dates, let me assist you by what is in your statement. At paragraph 64, you mentioned that this occurred on the 25th of January. I assume that is in 1995.
Yes, ma'am.
Please tell us what happened.
Yes, ma'am. On January 25th, 1995, myself and Captain Mamad Cham was picked from security wing number 1. They came and informed us that we've got guests waiting for us at the prison headquarters. At that time, we didn't know who they were, so we got ready and then went to the prison headquarters. Was escorted. We went there, and apparently we found a couple of CID officers waiting for us.
What do you mean by CID?
Criminal Investigation Department personnel.
Of which force?
It was, I believe, from police and NSS at the time.
Thank you.
And then I was told that they were asked by the then President Yahya Jammeh to come for me to help him with accounts of my movement from 22nd July itself, around that area, up to the time I was arrested.
Do you recall the names of any of the individuals from the CID and the NSS?
No, ma'am.
Please continue.
And then I wrote exactly as I stated it here, my activities, which I believe I was just executing my duty at the time as an RSM, trying to uphold the Constitution as we swore when we joined the army. And nothing more. Just explain exactly what happened, what I was doing, and why I was doing it.
When you finished writing your statement, what happened next?
It was Mama Cham at the other side, and then after that, we were led back into our cells.
And
continue the normal daily routine.
And this was back to security wing number
1.
During your stay at Mile 2 prisons, did you remain in security wing number 1?
No, ma'am. Until
Do you recall what led to your leaving Security Wing Number 1?
I was in Security Wing Number 1 until after the independence in 1995. And then at that time, my health condition deteriorated. And then I fully remember Sar, the medic, came to visit us. Oh, sorry, before Sar came, I had my toothache reoccur again. And it was really hurting me this time. I tried everything possible, no medication, and no permission was granted for me to be able to go to RVH. So I end up trying to treat it myself by removing a piece of string from my camouflage, which was very strong, tied the tooth itself, and was trying to forcefully pulling it out myself. I did that, try, until I fainted. Sun was extremely hot. I think after my collapse, subsequently, it was reported, and the blood, they managed to get SAR to came down, and then after they managed to take me to RVH to see the dentist.
Prior to your visit to RVH, as it was known at the time, I would like to first address what led to your movement from Security Wing Number 1. You told us that you didn't stay in Security Wing Number 1 throughout your time there.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes. We were there until I believe it was around the 28th when Sergeant Thomas Jaju came and told us that we need to pack our stuff, that they're moving us from Security Wing Number 1 back to Security Wing Number 4. And I can fully remember myself and Chongan told him that if the exercise that took place here in September 6 was to be repeated, we're not going, we're staying for it to happen here. And he did everything possible to try to convince us. We said, no, we're not leaving, we're staying here. He went back and then came again, but before he came to tell us exactly why we're being moved back to Security Wing Number 4, one of the guards called Kopul Suso whispered to me that it's nothing to do with you. It is Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara who was arrested and are coming to replace you here.
Do you recall Corporal Suso's first name?
No, ma'am.
Please continue.
And then it was because of that information, I passed it on to Chongan, who later relayed it to Mamad Cham. Because in prison, I was not in full communication with Mamad Cham after knowing what I knew already. The communication, I limited it, plus other officers. So who I was communicating more in prison was Chongan, simply because he was not part of the Gambia National Army, but from the TSG and police. And I fully remember at times when officers were having their sort of a debate. They have some goes for, the others goes for against. Whenever he tries to get himself involved, I shout at him and say, stay out of it. They're the cause of all what we're going through, and you were not part of it. You don't know nothing about it.
So if we focus on the events that happened in January 1995, you mentioned that you limited your communications with Mama Cham because of what happened before. I take that to mean the events that you discussed at Colonel Akoji's residence.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Please continue telling us what happened that January 1995.
And then we were moved to security wing number 4. This is where we were. And then, either the very day or a couple of days after, a group of soldiers start coming in, led by Alaji Martin.
His rank at the time?
I believe he was I would not tell at the time whether he was promoted or not, but when I was going into Mile 2, he was a sergeant or staff sergeant.
What is his rank currently? Do you know?
General.
Alaji Martin, who else was present?
He comes with other soldiers whom I don't know, but definitely he led them every time they come in.
If we still stick to what happened either a day or two after the 27th,
yes,
you saw General, as he's known now, Alaji Martin, coming in with a group of soldiers who you do not know.
Yes, ma'am.
Who were they bringing in at that time?
No, they were not bringing anybody, but they were coming, visiting the people who were later who later replaced on us on security wing number 1. And that
which people are you referring to?
Lieutenant Sana Sabali, Sadibu Haidara, W2 Babukar Sanyang, and I believe a couple of others whom I can't remember their name, but these 3 definitely I remember.
Let's take it step by step so it's clear. So first of all, you were moved from security wing number 1 to security wing number 4.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's start with that movement. What was the mood like upon your return to security wing number 4?
Well,
how did the other detainees react upon seeing you, Mama Cham, and Ibrahim Achongan?
They were very surprised because the impression they were giving us, the impression they were giving at the time was we were all executed. So it was very, 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 very surprising to see us back. It was very emotional. I remember the present State Guard commander, Tru Jaune, was very, very, he came to see me, my cell, and then we had a little bit of chat there. Yeah.
So after that emotional reunion, you mentioned that Lieutenant Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara were brought into security wing number 1 to replace you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall who brought them in?
They were escorted by Edward Singate with his orderlies. They were tied their back, not with handcuff, but piece of string, high tied at their back. And Alaji Martin was there as well. They escorted them in.
Do you recall the names of any of the orderlies?
Lamin Fati, Bachsamba Jallo. Can I go through the list I have here, the orderlies?
Sure.
Lamin Fati, Lance Corporal at the time. Samba Jallow, private soldier, Alpha Ba, who is late now, Mustafa Touré Churo, JCB Mendy, Babukar Mboub, Lamarana Jallow, Jali Musa Suso, Yunusa Bari, and Koli was a medic at the time, together with Alaji Martin.
You mentioned that some of those soldiers are people who worked under you while you were RSM of the army.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know all of the individuals that you've mentioned prior to that particular day when Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara were brought into Mile 2?
Yes, ma'am. Some of them, those who were in the army, directly know them very well.
So you were able to recognize them when they arrived that day, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. When they arrived, it was visible. It was broad daylight. For those who happen to have their cells on from when the cells were like this end to here, and then an angle there. All those who happen to be on that line would see them clearly.
You also mentioned that Alaji Martin and his soldiers came a number of times to the prison.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall any of the men that Alaji Martin came with?
Same people I just mentioned, ma'am.
Do you recall how many times they came to the prison?
Numerous times.
Would numerous mean less than 5 or more than 5?
More than 5.
And when they came, who did they visit?
The people who replaced us in security wing number 1, that was Sadibu Haidara, Sadibu Haidara, Sana Sabali, W2 Sanyang, and there were other soldiers as well, I believe, who were arrested together.
Just to make sure that we're clear, are you referring to soldiers who were arrested with them, or are you referring to the soldiers from November 11th incident that you talked about?
No, we were arrested with them.
Can you tell us about the visits of Alaji Martin and his men?
They were there just for one reason, to mete severe torture on them. And you could see them when they're coming in, they come with hammer, and another electrical equipment which they use to try to electrocute them. I remember at one of the visits, we at the security wing number 4 were even discussing or saying it within ourselves that it was better for them to be just executed than subjecting them to whatever they've been subjected. Even though they themselves meted the same thing on us, we felt that it was not necessary to subject them to that. It would have been rather more better to just execute them than subjecting them to what they've been doing them on a routine basis.
From where you were in your cell, during those visits, were you able to observe what was happening when they arrived at security wing number 1?
Whenever they arrived, we could see them through our window openings going through, and once they enter in there, we haven't got visibility on them, but we could hear very loud and clear the cry of pain they've been subjected to.
Do you recall how long those visits would last in general?
About an hour or more. It depends, it varies. There was no visit that lasted less than 45 minutes to 1 hour.
While you were at Mile 2 prisons, did you at any point see Lieutenant Sadibu Haidara or Sana Sabali after those visits?
No, ma'am. It was only the prison guards who would come and tell us the state and condition they were in.
You told us that at some point you were taken to RVH.
Yes, ma'am. The first time. That was regarding the tooth that I was trying to uproot by myself, and then end up fainting, and then arrangement was made. Finally, I was taken to RVH, and when we got to RVH, I remember the dentist said to me, after the inspection, said to me, the root of the tooth is okay, very strong. Let's try and seal it and preserve it. I said no. Hence, if I am in pain, I won't be given the opportunity to come out, just remove it. It was a little bit of a disagreement until later my wishes were granted. That one here, remove it, but because it was very strong and the temperature of the heatness at the time, I could not sustain it at the pain, I collapsed.
After you collapsed, how much longer did you stay at RVH?
We were there, I believe, a couple of hours until I recovered, and then we were taken back to Mile 2.
Did you make subsequent visits to RVH?
Yes, ma'am. After what happened, then they started taking us to RVH for physiotherapy. And that was myself, Captain Kambi, and Captain James Johnson, who was suffering also from a road traffic accident he sustained while traveling from Farafenye to Yundum, I believe. Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us about your second visit at the RVH?
The second visit, we went to the physiotherapy ward. We were escorted there. We did our session, and then I believe we were taken back, and then it was repeated, I believe, one or two times before I collapsed again at the hospital. My neck. I collapsed at the hospital, and then they rushed and went and get Dr. Jones, who was familiar with my situation. Neck was swollen. He later admitted me at ward 6 and 7, and that is how I stayed at the hospital under Dr. Jones.
While you were at the hospital, did any of your family members visit you at any time?
Yes. At the hospital, yes, my dad came to visit me. When they came, because of I was in so much pain the first time, I could not see him. He left. And then has to come back. And then I asked him where my daughter was, who was 8 years old at the time. But because at the time my neck was swollen and I was in so much pain, he didn't say anything until he left. A couple of friends came. Whenever I asked of my daughter, they avoid it and then would leave. Until when my dad came back again together with one of his friends, I asked him that I need them to bring my daughter to see me. It was there he asked me to seal the kalimatu La ilaha illallah, Sayyidina Muhammad Rasulullah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then he told me that your daughter died around the 4th of November. That was why when I got to 4th of November Council, I said, allow me to repeat it at the end. Then I asked myself the question, this was what happened that led possibly to the blood I was seeing while I was in detention around the 4th of November, together with someone who was very special, a brother to me, Jibril Say. Jibril Say. Jibril Say. No, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, Council.
Please don't apologize, RSM. I'm very sorry about what happened to your daughter as well as your friend. Please take your time. You have a bottle of water next to you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
As far as you know, as far as you're aware, what was the impact of your detention on your family? Meaning your wife, your parents, your child at the time?
The impact was very, very, very serious, because knowing that I haven't done nothing, and nothing absolutely whatsoever, and I was in detention, and haven't got the opportunity, the chance for any of them to see me, really was very, very, very disheartening. And especially my daughter, he was so fond of, used to me, that all the soldiers knew her. And subsequently, I was told that it was one Tuesday, Wednesday, that after Maghrib prayer, she just sat at the praying mat, praying, and then they found her there and told her to get up and go. She said, no, you people never told me that my dad was arrested and detained, but if you people don't take me to see him, I will go and no one will see me again.
Please take your time, sir. If you would like a break at any point, please let me know.
Let me finish it. And then she was promised that the following day they will take her to go and see me, knowing the relationship I had with the soldiers who were very fond of her. They took her to my sister, who was working at the education department, for them to go across to State House to seek permission for her to come and see me. And then when they went to State House, again, some of the council members, don't know who exactly, agree and then ask them to wait for the permission to be arranged for them. And then later, it was Yankuba Touré. Yankuba Touré who came out to see them and told them that to go and come back on Monday, then the permission will be organized. It was there that they left, tried everything, left, went back home. By, I believe, Thursday, her body temperature started to go up. They said they were going to take her to Ahmadiyya Hospital. She told them that she was not sick. She wanted to see me. They convinced her, but nothing. The temperature kept rising. They ended up taking her to Ahmadiyya Hospital, which is in Talinding, not far from where she lived. And then she told them not to take her to hospital. She was not sick. On reaching the hospital, she was admitted and then was told to wait. They go and get my mom, her grandmother. She told them not to let my grandmother know. Her grandmother was my mom know where she was, but they went ahead to get my mom. My mom rushed to the hospital. The mom went in and told her that your grandmom is here. She said, why did you tell her that I'm here? And then my mom walked into the room and they told her that your grandmom is here. As my mom called her, she turned around, looked at my mom, turned back, and that was it. She was gone. Thank you. Let me finish it. Then her corpse was moved to the RVH, and then the council was contacted and informed about it, and request was made for me to be allowed to go and see her and pay my last respect before her burial. They said to give them time to have a meeting, and then they will get back to my family, which they never got back to them. And then, I believe the day after, they went to look for the permission, whether it would be granted or not. And again, it was Yankuba Touré, who advised the council that it will not be wise for me to be let out to come and pay or see my daughter before being buried. And then later, that they will not be able to take the responsibility of the consequences of should in case anything happen. And that is how it was denied. That was why I didn't know what was happening whatsoever. And subsequently, I was made to know that it was my brother again, Jibril Sey. Jibril Sey was the only one in the army at the time who stood by my family to arrange her burial rites. That was the story of my daughter, Council. You could see it has a very, very, very great impact in my family, knowing exactly what that little child has to go through that subsequently led to his demise. Thank you.
Thank you for that, RSM. I just have a couple of quick questions. You mentioned that your father told you about the demise of your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And the information that you've narrated to us, that came from your father, is that correct?
And my mom.
And your mother.
The child's mom.
And the child's mom. How do you know that it was Yankuba Toure who advised the council members against you going to attend your daughter's funeral?
Yankuba Toure told the child's mom. They knew each other very well. And Jibril say confirm it to them as well.
Thank you very much for that.
And I remember before going to hospital council, some point Jibril say paid a surprise visit to me at mile 2. This was before I was admitted at RVH. And I said to him, it was before November 11, actually. I said to him, just for the records, please, because before November 11, I said to him, why are you here? He said to me, sir, you cannot be here, and I wouldn't come to see under what conditions you are in. I said to him, stay out of this place, and let's hope one day we will all reunite outside. He said, no, sir. I must come. And I was made to believe that it was from that day he was invited straight to State House and was cautioned to stay away from me, that all of them knew and had a relationship with me, but he should just try and stay away. But he wouldn't have it. Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. Do you recall who told you that Jibril Say was called by the council members after his visit to you?
When I was in the RVH, the guards, including their orderlies, do secretly come and pay visit to me and the guards who were there, but definitely I was not able to remember the name of the person.
Thank you very much for that information, RSM. During your time at RVH, did you receive any form of treatment, any treatment in the form of an operation or surgery? Were any steps taken to address the injuries that you had?
At RVH, all I was refusing was physiotherapy and pain management, nothing absolutely. Remember, Dr. Jones came to me and said to me they're trying everything possible to let these people, referring to as the council, know exactly what my conditions were and that something needs to be done about it. That was all until in July 1995, in the afternoon, the nurse on duty came to me and said to me, we've been asked to prepare you for operation. That was the following day. I said, by who? She said, by Dr. Marcin, one German doctor at the time. I said to her, no way. You joking? No way I'm accepting that operation. It's not going to happen. At the time, she was very upset, tried to take my normal blood pressure, etc., etc. I said, I'm not giving nothing because it's not going to happen. They said, why? I said, only if it comes from Dr. Jones and if he's the one to perform it. Without that, no one is going to touch me. That evening, because all the doctors and nurses around Ward 6 and 7 ICU were so fond and used to me, I rang the senior consultant, who was a Nigerian, and then said to him, I was told that, asked to prepare that I'm to be taken to theater tomorrow. Are you part of it, or do you know anything about it? He paused for some time and said, no. Whoever is doing it, I'm not part of it. I'm not going to get involved. And he said to me, I've started praying for you, and I will continue praying for you. I said, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Do you recall the name of the Nigerian consultant?
To be quite honest, I can.
Please continue.
Then that evening, I called Dr. Jones himself and asked him the same question, whether he is aware of that, and that, or if he was the one who gave the instruction or so. He said to me, no. And no one should perform or attempt to do that. Because to start with, he said, the proper table for the kind of surgery that it requires for my neck, they don't have it there. And he haven't seen anybody there who have the competence to do that. It was not his instruction. He didn't know about it, and it's not going to happen. It shouldn't happen. I said, thank you. Then come the following morning, Dr. Marcin came himself, wanted to know why I was still in the ward, not being prepared to go for the operation. I said to him, I am not going anywhere, and he shouldn't even come near me. Because no one is going to touch my neck, and I'm not going to just allow it to happen. And excuse my language, I even use the word piss off to Dr. Marcin.
How did Dr. Marcin react to that?
Very, very furiously, and told me that he was going to report me.
To who?
Later I found out that it was him and Edward Singate who were talking about this operation, which I suspected that it was a foul play about to happen. And then my suspicions was confirmed by one of Edward's orderly.
Do you recall the name of that orderly?
No, ma'am. He came to the hospital and told me that Dr. Marcin visited Edward a couple of times, and he had my name being talked about. They were discussing about me.
Did he tell you anything else about that? You stayed at the RVH for a while. Do you recall when you finally left RVH?
I left the RVH a couple of weeks after my release from detention. And before that, one morning, they came and said to give me a new uniform to put on, hospital uniform. I said, no, I was not going to put it on. I've been putting on my military uniform since I was admitted, so I'm not going to put it on. They said, no, we're having executive visit in the camp, in the hospital. I said, no, whoever is coming will find me in the uniform costume I've been wearing. So then I noticed changes on the guard. The guards were increased. But the guards were increased in numbers. So round about 10, 11, we had the siren and the convoy started moving from State House. I could see Independence Drive from where I was. I was in bed number 4. And then they came into the hospital. And this was the then President Yahya Jammeh Edward Singate, and the rest of their guards, with the exception of Yankuba Touré, whom later I found out that it was whilst on their way coming, he excuses himself from coming. And then they came to the hospital, and then when they came to Ward 6 and 7, where I was, you have bed 1, 2, 3, the table, and then 4 right round to bed number 24. They started with bed 1, 2, 3, and then moved to 24, making me the last one to attend to. So while they were going round, Edward Singate avoided any eye contact with me. When they got to me, the chief of protocol came to take my name, and then I didn't give my name until they got there. He wanted to explain. Yaya Jammeh said to him, "We are here to see him." But when he came, he called me man. I said to him, "Do you want me to call you man now that you are president?" He came, he held my hand, left hand, and he said to me, "Man, we are here to see you." I said, "What for?" He said, "Regarding what happened to you." There I said to him, with what happened to me, I am more concerned on you people running the country, and to be very careful of falling out within yourselves and then send this country into anarchy. There is a living witness for that, who is one nurse called Mam Jangom, who was standing there. Everyone was quiet, including Dr. Jones. I said to him that now that you people choose to run this country, please try and deliver. And be very careful. My worry is you people, how you will end up with whatever you choose to. And then he asked me what was the situation of my treatment. I referred him to Dr. Jones, who told him that they've already wrote a report and then sent it to State House. And it was there that we found out that the report was stopped by Edward Singate with all the recommendations the hospital put in. Yaya was not happy. You could see it in him and the tone of his voice after. He told Dr. Jones that he wants to see that report and they will do whatever they could to assist my situation. But it never happened. I was left in the RVH until I was released in December 1996 together with Dr. Malik Njai Pacha, Mbalo Seydi Khan, and ASP Abubakar Jeng.
In order to situate the visit of the council members vis-a-vis your release date on the 30th December 1996.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us if that visit took place in 1995 or 1996?
The council's visit.
To
It was
the
in 1995.
RVH. Thank you. You told us that you were released on the 30th December 1996, along with other individuals who you've named. Can you tell us what led to your release?
Sorry, ma'am. The visit was in 96, before my release, just before my release.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us what led to your release?
Whilst I was in RVH, at some point, a soldier came from State House and said to me that Yaya was furious with the council members that they went through the list of releasing people many times without no one mentioning my name or putting my recommendation for my release. That if my name is not tabled in their next meeting, then they should stop releasing people. It was there then I found out that there was already a board selected panel who was reviewing detainees. I never knew about that. And that if I did not attend that reviewing panel, no one would be. Then I called Dr. Jones and said to Dr. Jones, I shouldn't hamper people being released from detention. I would like to attend the panel so that the exercise can continue. He said to me, you're sick. Right now, you are not their responsibility. You are our responsibility. Let them deal with whatever they're doing. I appealed with him until he accepted my appeal, and then that was how it was communicated to them that I'm ready to go to the panel. And when a date was set, they wheeled me with my bed right down and then transferred into an ambulance and then over to see the panel.
Where was the panel located at the time?
I believe, I can't remember the location, ma'am. Definitely.
Do you recall the members of the panel?
Yes, ma'am, I remember some of them.
Please tell us.
There was this lawyer called Jatuka, former police, can't remember his rank, Jata Balde, can't remember his rank, and the late Imam of Dipakunda or Latir Kunda, Drame, and about 2 or 3 more Nigerians were on the panel. And when I got there, went through the normal introduction, my name, etc., etc., and they introduced themselves, and I was told that the panel was organized to review the detainees and subsequently make recommendations to the council. I was asked to explain if I know why I was arrested. I told them I don't know, apart from performing my duties as an RSM. If that is what upset them, then they should rethink of why they are there. And then the Nigerian council said to me, they were not there to discuss about the council. I said to him, then I cannot give you answers if I can tell you anything about them. And then, I think it was Jata Balde or Jatuka, one of them intervened, and then I was allowed to continue. I said, the only account of event that I can give you people who surround me up to my arrest. I narrated that, and at the end I said, I don't think I am guilty of anything. And if there is anything that I should be guilty of right now, this is when the country needs me. I heard that the Gambia National Army and TSG were already amalgamated, and they really needed regimentation and control. Now, with all my experience and expertise, I am here now, language in jail, it has been wasted. And I told them that they should tell them that if the exercise that happened in September 6, the Nigerians were adamant for me not to say it. I said, I insist that I will say it. I told them that if it's to be repeated again, it is not going to be like how it was. Jatuka intervened and then get them to allow me to say what I wanted to say. I told them that in September 6th, they came to mile 2, trying to execute people, which didn't go down very well. And that was what I believe led to my hospitalization at the time. And then the Imam Drame said to me, my son. I said, yes, sir. He asked me if I know him. I said, no, sir. He introduced himself again as the Imam of Latrikunda or Dipakunda, that whenever he leads any congregational prayers again, he will be praying for me. And I was told that that was the last time himself and Jatuka attended that panel.
Did the panel tell you what would happen in terms of your case? Did they tell you what to expect?
No, but one of the Nigerians then said to me, I should know that they were not here, they were not there to decide or make any recommendation for my release. Then I told him that whenever God wishes for me to leave, or whenever it is he decided that my food consumption in mile 2 will end, then I would leave.
And it was following your appearance before the review panel that subsequently you were released on 30th December 1996, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
After you were released, when you were released, were you still at RVH?
Yes, ma'am. I was still at RVH with the guards for a week before I was released, which the people at RVH were very surprised to still see that the guards were there. But I was okay with them because from after the first 2 weeks of my admission, the people in RVH were very, very, very surprised because the guards would come and in turn take permission from me to go out, to the extent of even their rifles, they will give it to me to keep for them, which I would place under my bed or under my mattress for them. That was something that RVH people could not understand.
Following your release from RVH, did you resume work with the Gambia National Army?
No, ma'am. I continue going for physiotherapy at the RVH until a day, there was this day that I received a letter with just a couple of lines saying that my service is no longer required, and then my dues or whatever will be subsequently paid, etc., which didn't happen. My service was terminated, but up to now, I don't believe my service is terminated because I was a W1 Regimental Sergeant Major for the Gambia National Army, and the person who wrote and signed that letter would not have the moral authority to dismiss an RSM.
Who was the person who wrote that letter, and what was that person's rank at the time?
His rank, he was a captain and is Samsudin Sar. No professional army in the world would a captain able to dismiss or relieve an RSM from his duty. So for me, up to now, no one have relieved me from duty.
You now live in the United Kingdom.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us what led to your leaving the Gambia and moving to the United Kingdom?
As I was waiting to see whether the government would do anything that would able or warrant me to get the treatment I required at the United Kingdom, it didn't happen. Then my wife was in the United Kingdom, and then I got help through his uncles who were very grateful to me, the cousins of the Honorable Bishops the Abel Thomas family who supported me, facilitated my trip to the UK. And I'm very grateful to them for that. And then when I got to United Kingdom, I was able to have treatment, and it was there that they confirmed that the string that was placed in my neck moved from its position, and that whenever I have a movement and it got swollen, it compresses the nerves that would lead to me suffering from the numbness.
I would like to leave some time for the commissioners to ask questions. Therefore, I would ask you briefly to give us your views on institutional reforms of the Gambia National Army. And thereafter, the commissioners will ask their questions and then allow you to make concluding remarks after that.
Thank you, ma'am. For the constitutional reform, ma'am, I will start with the head of state, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces. And it's sort of an appeal, because during the impasse, he made a promise to soldiers that if they just abide by the laws and not to send this country into anarchy, he promises them that if he resumes office, he would definitely be looking into their welfare, their salaries, and especially their peacekeeping mission allowances, which the Gambia National Army have a history of government failing to pay them in time, or people in authority tampering, interfering with soldiers' allowances. I am calling the President, the Commander-in-Chief, to please look into that, because it is still happening. It is still happening. And to try and pay a surprise visit to the barracks to see for himself, first account, eyewitness of the living condition of the soldiers. Ma'am, these soldiers are the sons and daughters of this country. Please, I'm appealing for them to be supported and not alienated. I would definitely urge the President to pay a surprise visit where possibly, if it can be, the Army top brass not present, for him to see him for himself, if he happens to get the chance to speak to the soldiers and hear direct first account for himself. Number two, for the security reforms, this government, under His Excellency President Adama Barrow, should take the bull by the horn, should be very strong and very decisive, take the bull by the horn with the Gambia National Army. As it stands at now, at present, the army is not fit for its purpose and is not serving any good to this country. The army needs to be restructured, resized, provide them with enough facilities and training, and it's about time the army to give back to this country. They could able to facilitate them to have a lot of vocational training that would in turn enable them to serve this country. Gambia have no external threat to fight. Gambia have no external threat to fight. Our problem, our threat is internal. And without proper training and discipline, regimentation, we will get nowhere. Right now, if government should just sit down and do the analysis themselves, they would see that an excessive amount of money is being pumped into the army, but whether it's been pumped for its right purpose, is being used for its right purpose. No. The army is inundated with excessive ranks that definitely, without a doubt, the bull should be taken by the horn and restructure that. Right now, on that reforms, we, the veterans of the Gambia National Army, have formed a charitable organization to look into our colleagues who are no longer serving and will run into difficulties, etc., looking after them. And this was supposed to be government's duty. This association was formed after when a couple of soldiers heard that I was helping some of the late soldiers' family, and then they approached me, and then I told them, okay, to give me time to think about it, and then when we got together, we decided to form this NGO. And my first advice was, I will only participate and be part of it if they all would agree with me that no one should discuss politics, no one should criticize the government of the day, nor would anybody interfere or criticize the Gambia National Army. We were serving, we're no longer serving. They all agree, and then that's how we started the association. As of now, we have already registered the association with the AG chambers. We've opened our accounts, and we have already started supporting the veterans. And that the funds are only coming from our monthly contributions. Monthly contributions. We urge the president to please look into this association and try and support it for the veterans. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, RSM. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my questioning. I hand over the floor to the commissioners for additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Council, and thank you very much, RSM Jang, for your testimony. Do the commissioners have any questions? Do that. Bishop, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner James Odiko.
Yes, sir.
RSM Bokar Malik Jang. During your submission yesterday, you did mention, I think, when you accosted the 2 trucks that were carrying the soldiers, the men.
Yes, sir.
I think to Yundum. And you did say that they had live ammunitions.
Yes, sir.
Live rounds unloaded, and you asked them to send them back to the camp.
Yes, sir.
So where were these live rounds actually unloaded, and from where did they send them back to the camp?
Yes, sir. What happened was, as soon as I got to the camp, and then saw these two trucks about to leave the camp to go to airport, I stopped them and asked them to go back into the camp. And then come off the truck, ready for me to inspect them before we head to the airport. At that time, that was when I called Jibril Sey and was talking to him. He informed me of the live ammunition that was loaded in the truck and was to go to the airport with the soldiers. That at this time, the soldiers know that when they saw me inspecting and how I was, they offloaded live rounds of the trucks and sent them back into the armory, which was very close to where we were. One thing I forgot to mention about that incident, thank you, Bishop, is the live rounds were meant to be used at the airport, and the plan was the entire Sir Dawda and his government were to be executed at the airport in what supposedly supposed to be a Samuel Doe, William Tolbert style coup. Actually, Council, can I just elaborate on that? I missed that point yesterday.
Please go ahead.
Because what happened was, this coup was in two phases. Phase one was supposed to be the one that the entire Sir Dawda government at the airport was to be executed at the airport. And my presence at the camp and intervention stopped that happening. And subsequently, when they knew that it was out of hand and then it's going to be dealt with, that was why Plan B came in. Plan B was not there. It was Plan A. Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Carr.
Commissioner Carr, I have a question. How were you able to rebuild your life?
Very, very difficult, because when I got to Britain, and then after my treatment, knowing that this was a government that I will never serve under, I chose to seek asylum there. And with the help of His Excellency Sir Dawda, who wrote a supporting letter for me, plus the Red Cross in Geneva, who were already aware of my situation, I was granted asylum to stay in the United Kingdom. It was very difficult. Started by doing security, and it was through there that the company I was working for employed me directly and trained me to become a principal telecoms field engineer, which I'm doing up to date. But it's been very difficult. As you, this is the first time I sit in public to explain or narrate in depth of what happened about the episode surrounding 22nd July and myself. I never discussed it. I've never sat on any social media or media platform to do so.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kinte.
Commissioner Kinte.
Yes, sir.
RSM, the first point I would want to ask is, you have a wealth of experience. It has been evident by your encounters and deliberation. And indeed, it looks like the Gambian army and all other money institutions need reforms. And I will agree with you that we needed a smaller army and a more competent army than we have now. if you are approached, for example, to either come on part-time or whatever, to give some technical support to the army in the reformation of the army, would you be readily willing to come? That's one. The second part is, that will take you back a bit, and please, you have to excuse me. Do you really think 11/11 was a real coup attempted, or was it a framed one? My third point is, what was particularly sour between you and Yankuba Toure that warranted the persistent concern and humiliation he vetted on you over the period?
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps before the witness answers the questions, I would suggest that he does not weigh in on the second question, which pertains to November 11. The witness was in detention at the time. She can only give us hearsay information. But that is the subject of our next session. The first witness we are going to call this afternoon is going to deal with that particular subject. So may I ask Mr. Kinte to indulge us a little bit and to allow for the commission to start its investigations into that particular subject. In this afternoon, we would hear what happened November 11, and your question would be answered at that time. I know this particular witness may have his own ideas as to what happened, but it is only fair that that question be put to those witnesses who really participated in the events of November 11, and not a person who was unfairly detained as at the time. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
That's fine. I consent with it.
So if you can, sorry, just the first question.
First question is, what would you be willing to readily, because it's evident that you have the expertise and the competency to help guide our security reforms, especially the army and so on. Would you be readily willing to provide your service in such direction? And the third one, since we are putting the second one aside, the third one is, what had been the sour relationship between you and Yankuba that led to the persistent humiliation or whatever, or denial?
First one, there's nothing like home. And there is no other job that I believe I can do better than being in the army. And because of that, after the impasse, and when General Masane Kinte was appointed as the Chief of Defense Staff, a young RSM was appointed at the Army headquarters, whom I know very well. And whenever I have concerns, I do call him to give him advice. After the second time, I said, hold on. I contacted General Masane Kinte directly myself and informed him and let him know that his RSM have been in touch with him and given him advice, which he was very happy to receive. To the extent that he himself said to me, at times he had a lot of disagreement with him, and then he would ask him to call me. And that has been happening. Likewise, a couple of other officers as well. They have problems, they call me, I give them advice. At the moment, I'm doing that. Thinking of coming back to serve. To be quite honest, I think we still have very competent young men and women in uniform, and that all they need is to be given the opportunity to serve and train properly to carry it out. It's something that I will think about. sir. The last question, that is about Yankuba Ture. This is a guy that I just don't know whatever was going through his mind that warranted him to all of a sudden change his attitude towards me. Because this was a guy that, if I fully remember, when he came and was enlisted into the army, even the officers, when they have problem with him, they think he's my son, that they could not touch him. I was the very one, and I was part of his recommendation for his commission, because we had a sudden 2 scholarships that came and needed to send 2 young lieutenants to America. And at the time, there was no one left prepared from a cadre course to go to. And then I remember the commander then, they went through everything. They could not find any. They resorted to take any 2 high school products with some results. And then this was when Lieutenant Sana Sabali and Yankuba Ture was chosen. How Yankuba Ture was chosen? Because he was a high school product, and he was a sergeant under me, and then he was very, very, very influential in the Army football team, helping with the sport, etc. And then that's how he was chosen with Lieutenant Sana Sabali, and then they were handed to me. I prepared them, took them to the airport. I even organized a send-off for them, took them to the airport, and then they went. In his absence, something happened family-wise, which I stepped in and do what was expected of me, that led to him getting the wife he's marrying today. It was his first cousin. I have living witnesses here. His best friend at the time, who's now serving with custom, Mohamed Joe. They all know we went through it. All of a sudden, whether he was doing it just to please the junta at the time, because he was with them, which I believe, because nothing acrimony happened in between us. I don't know whatsoever. I just don't know. I just don't have answer. Mr. Kinte, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. You have a question?
Thank you, RSM. I have got 2. Do you know what happened to the civilians that were arrested at Yundum Barracks? I know the army officers were taken to Mile 2, but how about the civilians who were at the Yundum?
They were subsequently released. One of them was the former Permanent Secretary, Minister of Defense, Suleiman Bunjak. And in my closing remarks, I'll mention why he was released. Thank you, ma'am.
The second one is in relation to your relief from the army. It was done irregularly, so you do not believe that you have been relieved from the army. But you have also said that you are no longer working for the army. So how do you want this situation to be redressed? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like the TRRC to please make a follow-up for me to be discharged appropriately from the army in order to set the record straight and for the procedure in the army not to be missed out. Please. Because it is very unusual, very abnormal for a captain to just write to an RSM and say your service is terminated, no longer needed. Your relief of duty, your service is no longer needed. Council, I will forward the letter when I go back, please.
Thank you, Imam C.
Commissioner Imam si Jeng.
Mr. Jeng,
Man dafa am lima jaaxal.
something doubts me.
Am na ñi fi fakkoon Yaya Jammeh moom ci sandarma bi moom foofu la gënoon a kam.
Some people said here that Yaya Jammeh was more knowledgeable with works of the gendarmerie and not the army.
Airport moom rek mbooloo boobu yóbbu naka la ci mën a amee fetel moom kese.
How could it be that he was the only one armed at the airport?
Am na ay kilifa yu bari ñi nga xamante ne ñoo ko xelif.
Given that there were others who were his senior?
Beneen laajte la beneen bi.
That's one question.
ñoom ñeenti naka lañ mën a tiitalee.
Second one is those four, as members of the council, how were they able to intimidate their superiors?
Nga xamante ni kilifa yi ñoo war a toppatoo loolu ba ñoom ñeenti naka lañ mën a def ba tiital seen kilifa yi ba nangu.
How was it possible that these four members of the council were able to intimidate their superiors to the extent that they were able to control the whole situation?
Ñu amee ay fetel yu bari te am nañ ay kilifa yi nga xamante ne ñoo amee loolu naka lañ ko mën a jëlee.
How did they end up acquiring all of those weapons when these weapons were supposedly controlled by other people?
État bi mënoon nañ ne waaye keneen ku gën a baax moo waroon a toog ci kilifa yi nga xamante ne ñoo
I think the coup d'etat could have happened, but perhaps a more suitable person could have been in charge as chairman. These are my questions.
Wow. In Wolof or in Wolof?
As you wish.
Jërëjëf yaa Imam.
Thank you, Imam.
Question boobu noonu am na solo trop.
Your questions are very important.
De ci suma fi ma war a tëjee mu ngi fa waaye dinaa ci laal tuuti.
Where I have to end, I will say something about it, but for the meantime, I'm going to say something about it.
Muy affaire yi ñoom ñeneen ñooñu naka lañ mënee def lii ba jël dëkk bi.
That's about how those four could have taken over the state.
Li xew mooy.
What happened was.
Armée bi.
In the army.
Soldats yi private soldier.
The soldiers, the private soldiers.
ñëw ba ci man muy W1.
Up to the rank of warrant officer class 1.
dañ nekk ci ay groupe.
They are in regiments.
Groupe yi nag.
In these groups.
bokk na ci.
Among them.
Second lieutenants yi.
Are the second lieutenants.
Ak lieutenant.
And the lieutenants.
dinañ dee nekk ak ñoom lu bari.
We are usually with them a lot of times.
Wante affaire yi coup d'état bi.
But as for the coup d'état.
li xew mooy.
What happened was.
suñ armée bi.
Our army.
dafa nekkoon ci position boo xam ne.
It was in a state.
Situation boo xam ne.
It was in a situation that.
suñ senior officers yi.
But our senior officers.
dañ nangu woon.
They had accepted.
pour suñ politiciens yi.
Our politicians.
dugal loxo.
To meddle into the affairs of the army.
ba tax na coup d'état bi.
To the extent that the coup d'état.
du woon xale ñeneenti lieutenant yi nii.
It wasn't just these four lieutenants.
am na ay borom ndombo tànka yu nekkoon ci dëkk bi.
There were certain influential individuals in the country.
ñoo xam ne.
That.
depuis bi Sir Dawda waxee in 1992.
Since Sir Dawda made the pronouncement to step down in 1992.
ñoom ci lañ commencé di ut ay xarit ci suñ biir senior officers yi.
That was the time those individuals started looking out for people to befriend within the army.
ba tax na.
To the extent that.
Senior officers yooyu ñu doon waxal.
Those senior officers that were being contacted.
ñooñu ñoo door affaire yi coup d'état bi.
They were the very ones who initiated the process leading to the coup d'état.
te dara wararu ko.
And there is nothing.
man dama ne buggee.
that warranted such action except greed.
ñàkk a gëm sa boppa.
A lack of belief in oneself.
nde waxtu boobu noonu.
Because at the time.
fekk na suñ officers yi seen grade seen pay.
The grade, the pay of our officers at the time.
Was attractive.
Was really attractive.
Was very attractive at the time. Bon.
Therefore,
waruñu woon a nangu.
They should not have accepted.
Kenn ci biti.
No other person from the outside of the army.
Ci biir di leen gomloo loo xam ne.
Come into the army, influence them, make them believe in certain things.
War naa mun a nekka.
Could be.
Ba tax ñu bañ jël seen values yi teg ko fële.
To the extent that they will disregard their values.
Te bokk na ci.
And among these.
ñooñu noonu senior officers yooyu noonu.
Those senior officers in the army.
Kii nga xam ne moo nekkoon seen gannaaw.
The one who was behind them.
Dina leen daan jox ay envelopes yoo xam ne ñun xam nañ ko.
Giving them envelopes on the ground, and someone that we all know.
Dina daan am ay meeting ak ñoom te xam nañ ko.
Someone that had clandestine meetings with them, and we know who the person is.
Te tax na.
To the extent that.
1994 bi moo jub si.
As 1994 was approaching.
ñoom senior officers yooyu noonu.
Those senior officials.
xamoon nañ ne.
We knew that.
liñ diggante woon ak kooku.
But they knew that what they had agreed with those that individual who was giving them money on the ground.
munuñ ko woon a deliver. munuñ ko defal.
There was no way they could actually deliver on their promises.
ci biir noonu.
As things were happening.
ci lañ dugalaale sol ñeneen ñi ëppoon na ñoom ñeneen ñi nii.
It was after they realized that they could not deliver on their promises that they brought in these 4 lieutenants to take charge of affairs.
ñoom tamit biñ ci duggee.
And so when these lieutenants got into the game.
kii nekkoon seen gannaaw.
The one who was propping them on.
gën a door di déggoo ak ñoom ci suuf.
And started relating with them and negotiating with them clandestinely.
te waxtu boobu yi tamit.
And at the time.
fekk na Nigerians yi ñu ngi fi.
The Nigerians were in the country.
def nañ lu baax de.
Well, they did well.
dimbale nañ army bi ñu restructure ko.
They helped to restructure the army.
ñu def lu bari in place.
They put a lot of things in order.
wante seen yaxa moo ëppa.
But their destruction was more.
te ñoom ñoo nekkoon the engineers behind the architects ñoo doon direct lii nii.
And they were the architects of the coup d'etat. They were the ones directing the course of action of the coup d'etat.
ak ki nga xam ne moo nekkoon ci gannaaw soldaar yi.
And this individual that was clandestinely dealing with the soldiers.
ba tax biñ demee ba àgga ci 21st July.
To the extent that by the 21st of July.
biñ demee ba xam ne seen plan A bi nga xam ne nasax na.
They realized that their first plan of course of action was not going to succeed.
Then ci lañ resort to plan B.
That was when they resorted to their second plan.
The plan B succeeded.
When the second plan succeeded.
xale yi unfortunately ñu àgga State House.
When the coup plotters unfortunately got to State House.
bañ toogee.
And took over the seat of government.
ñoom seen boppa.
They themselves.
Senior officers yi nga xam ne ñoom ñoo waroon a def lii tey.
Senior officers who were supposed to have conducted this coup d'etat.
te amuñ yoon pour def ko.
And did not succeed in carrying it through.
ñoom ñoo leen ñëw wuraat.
They were the ones that came around and joined them and became one with them.
di leen xelal lan lañ war a def lan lañ warut a def.
And then began to advise them as to what to do and what not to do.
wante ñu ne lu waay rey mu nàcc sa loxo.
Well, that's a proverb. We can do without that.
Whoever plant evil, evil will be rewarded to you.
That's right. Thank you, sir.
léegi moo tax nga gis xale yi bañ tolloo foofu noonu ñoom itamit.
Right now, that's why when these young men in uniform got to that stage.
bañ gisee seen boppa.
And when they began to feel confident about themselves,
they
took all of those senior officers and imprisoned them. Before I come to talk about the one who was clandestinely propping them on, helping them, there is but one thing that I want to ask of Gambians. I'm asking them, especially the soldiers, they should see them as their own children, their own brothers and sisters. The soldiers were used, and they did what they did. And then they turned against them and did what they had to do, that they did to them. To the extent that at that time, if we recall the 21st of July, at the airport, there was one very prominent, a very important personality in this country at the airport. At the time,
Vice President
he was our Vice President,
Minister of Defense,
as well as our Minister of Defense.
Sehu Sabali.
He was Sehu Sabali.
My wat ci Alquran ne.
And I can swear to the Holy Quran.
Billahi.
I swear.
Wallahi.
I swear.
Tallahi.
I swear.
He
was the one propping these soldiers, clandestinely supporting them.
The entire Gambia
and I want the whole Gambian nation to know that
under the 22 years rule of Yaya Jammeh
that we went through under the 22 years of the Jammeh rule,
soldari ñoko def wante dañ leen ko def lo
did it, but there is someone who made them do it.
Muy ki di Sehu Sabali.
And this is the individual that I am naming, Sehu Sabali.
Mom mo nekkon ci gannaaw li.
He was the one who was behind and propping these soldiers, encouraging them and supporting
permanent secretary bi Suleiman Bunjak.
And his permanent secretary, Suleiman Bunjak.
Billahi wallahi talahi dara umbu ko ci.
He knows everything.
De bo len baye xel buñ delo ci gannaaw.
If you can recall,
si suma beginning testimony bi.
In my testimony at the beginning,
I
did say
Minister of Defense
that they had taken me to the Ministry of Defense
transfer Farafenye
to discuss about my issue of being transferred to Farafenye.
Plan bidore.
That was where the plan began.
To eliminate
every other person
obstacle
who was ever going to be an obstacle to the success of the coup d'etat. Starting with me, by taking me to Farafenye, where I had nothing to do so far as my job was concerned. Departing from that, let's return back to the issue of the soldiers. I want the Gambia to know that I swear,
wallahi,
I swear,
talahi,
I swear, that there were so many hypocrisies, so many betrayals about this coup d'etat that's supposed to happen. That is why God and the prayer that the blessings of Gambia has,
22nd July.
That was why he chose the best for the 22nd of July.
We soldari GNA, Gambia National Army.
That is the soldiers of the Gambia National Army.
Dem ci kanam.
To go forward.
And ak ñenenti lieutenant yi ni.
Led by these 4 lieutenants.
Jël dëkk bi.
And to take over the control of the state.
Soldats yi ñu gëmloo woon ne dafa am ñuñ bokkal dañ ci bokka ku melni man te bokkuñ ci ba tax ñu bokka ci jël dëkk bi.
And they made some soldiers believe that some of us were part of the plot, especially myself.
Monday, coup d'etat in 1994.
As for me, the 1994 coup d'etat,
the only comfort I have in it, comfort bi ma ci am rek mooy.
the only comfort I have in what happened on that day is this.
Ne soldats yi Gambia National Army.
That is the soldiers of the Gambia National Army.
Xam discipline and xarañ bi nekkoon ci ñoom.
Knowing how disciplined and well trained they were.
ñoo dem forward def lii mu successful.
They are the ones who led this thing and made sure that it succeeded.
Suba la woon.
It was in the morning.
By taw bu waxtu juma jotee nit ñi dem nañ julli ji juma.
But by the time it was time for the Friday prayers, people were free to go about their prayers.
Te benn bakken ñàkkuñ ko ci.
And no lives were lost.
Li tax ma wax loolu mooy.
The reason why I'm saying this is because
li xewee lañ yëg ne.
After the events occurred,
ne state guard seen biir. ñu nekkoon state guard bi seen biir.
when we knew that within the state guards themselves,
ñu ngi ko doon fexe.
there were efforts.
ak TSG seen biir.
And as well as some of the
combination of TSG and state guard. ñu ngi ko doon fexe.
That was the tactical support group. That there were some efforts within them and members of the state guards.
ak ay police.
And some police officers.
te ma xam li ma xam ci Gambia National Army ci waxtu boobu ne.
And so far as what I know about the Gambia National Army at the time,
suñ doon toog di seetaan.
They wouldn't have just let things go without taking any appropriate steps.
mu doon humiliation ci ñun.
It was a humiliation for us.
te joguñ.
That we didn't do anything.
saafara ko.
To make sure that we nip this in the bud.
te niñ ko doon saafara rek mooy.
And how were we going to do this?
dañoo jóg cross leen.
This was, we were going to counter them and crush them.
Yal nañu Yàlla musal ci loolu.
May God forgive us and prevent us from such scenarios.
yaa Imam lii mooy li xew.
My Imam, this is what happened.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Counsel. If you don't have any more questions to ask the witness, can he proceed with his concluding remarks?
In fact, Mr. Chairman, that was his concluding remarks. He wanted to put across his own views and concerns and his own analysis, personal analysis of what happened in July 1994. So that was his concluding remark. Thank you.
Splendid. Thank you so much for that. RSM Jang, thank you so much. You have something else, sir?
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
I just wanted to make an appeal, sir, through the TRRC Commission. And that is in regarding with, please, sir, the victims of November 11 and all victims. If a day of remembrance would be organized, arranged by the government for them, and that can be a deterrent from soldiers from revisiting history. And I'm urging the TRRC, please, if you can pay a visit to Yundum Barracks to identify where those gallant soldiers are being dumped and forgotten in a septic tank, and they please deserved to be exhumed and given a proper burial. Please, Commission, I'm appealing, begging for that. It's going to be a very big moral boost for the soldiers, as they are not comfortable at all where they are at the moment. Please. Chair.
Thank you very much. We do have quite a few sites to visit. We just started, and barracks is not excluded. So they would see us at some point when we get there. I wanted to thank you enormously for helping us in carrying out the mandate given to the Commission to create a historical record of what happened here in terms of human rights violations, abuses during the 22 years, 1994 to 2017. You traveled thousands of miles to come and help us here with this task. We thank you very much indeed, for that. Council, if there isn't any announcement to make, we would resume in an hour's time. Thank you all very much indeed. Meeting is adjourned.
New from QCell.
4G Mega Data Promo. Now
with QCell,
the Gambia's leading GSM company.
You can get speed-based unlimited mobile broadband at massively reduced prices. QCell, the first 4G LTE provider, has once again come up with an amazing way for you to access the internet at home, work, or anywhere you may be.
Mega Data Promo. Grab one of the new QCell 4G enabled MiFi routers
and dongles for as low as $1,500
and choose your plan from 1 to 5 Mbps.
QCell's prepaid 4G data plans start at only $1,900.